BlogTalkRadio, the world's largest online radio network.
Good evening. Welcome to Rock and Roll Politics. And I'm Lisa Richards, your host. And tonight we have a very special guest, Dr. Alveda King, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. She is a Pastoral Associate and Director of African American Outreach for Priests for Life, and also founder of King for America. Dr. King also has a blog. It's called Alveda King's Blog, and you can find her blog on priestforlife.org. That's priestforlife.org. And Dr. King's blog is a daily read. She has tremendous life stories that she relates to all of us. Some of them are heartwarming, some are very heartbreaking. But Dr. King is a human rights activist and a civil rights activist whose ministry is very vital to the United States and the world as a whole. And she is fighting to save the unborn, as well as to help women who have had abortions or women who are pregnant and considering abortion. And we welcome Dr. Alveda King to Rock and Roll Politics to discuss with... Yes.
Okay, Dr. King is on hold. She just needs about 60 seconds. She's in the middle of something, and she'll be right with us. About 1 minute, we'll bring her up, okay?
Sure. What we're going to discuss with Dr. King tonight that's very important. We're going to discuss the Obamacare HHS mandate, and because I think a lot of people out there do not completely understand what is inside of Obamacare. You may all think it's just health insurance. You hear care and you hear health insurance, and you assume, well, your health insurance is going to be paid for when you go to the doctor, but you don't realize all of the other things that are inside of Obamacare. And Dr. Alveda King is going to explain the mandate and why taxpayers should not be forced to pay for this, because it is also a violation of your religious freedom, as well as violating your constitutional right in general. You should not be forced to pay for health insurance if you don't want to, but you also should not be forced to pay for this mandate if it goes against anything that you believe. And we're also going to talk about the Black Pro-Life Coalition, which is calling for Planned Parenthood to be defunded. Dr.
Yes,
Alveda
we're ready to go live with Dr. Alveda King. Lisa,
yes.
if you're ready. Okay,
yes.
I'm going to go ahead and bring her up right now. Hold on. Dr. King, you're on live with Lisa Richards.
Welcome,
Hello,
Dr.
Lisa.
King.
Thank you, Lisa. And sorry I joined you just a tiny bit late, but I'm glad to greet you and your listening audience.
Well, we're glad to have you here to explain to our listeners about the Obamacare HHS mandate, because many people hear health care insurance, and that's all they hear, but they don't realize that there is a lot hidden inside of Obamacare. And please explain to our listeners about this mandate and what you and Priests for Life are trying to do.
Well, what has happened now, Father Frank Pavone, who is our National Director of Priests for Life, and I'm sorry about the background noise. I'll try to get it as quiet as I can.
That's all right.
We at Priests for Life, and we're encouraging people of faith, people of goodwill everywhere, to not go along with this very unjust law that not only provides pseudo-health care, the health care package is not really even that great, but it requires people of faith who do not agree with some of the tenets and principles in it. For instance, distributing harmful birth control agents, pre-abortion kinds of services, and all of that. There's some other things that are hidden in the bill that take away people's constitutional rights. And so we are just saying it's an unjust initiative, and we're asking that people not support it and not obey it, because it's just not fair and it's not right.
That's absolutely true. And our listeners can go to priestforlife.org, and you'll see that Father Frank Pavone put out a release to the press, and in it he says, "We do not adapt to injustice, we oppose it." He also says, "I announce our conscientious objection to this mandate." He said, "This policy is unjust, and today I reaffirm our intention to disobey it." And he's absolutely right, Dr. King. We should not be forced to go along with something that goes against our belief that every human being has a right to life, because we're talking about 54 million children now have been aborted. They have been killed. And I read that is it almost 40% are Black American children?
Well, what if you look at 1973, when Roe versus Wade was passed, from 73 until today, where abortion was legalized in America, the killing of innocent babies in the womb was legalized, almost 1/3 of the aborted babies are African-American babies, and yet our population in America is right around 12%. So we're making up 12% of the abortions, but 33% of the abortions that are provided out of the 50-plus million are African-American babies. And so it's such a disproportionate and such an unjust formula based on work by a eugenicist, Margaret Sanger, who founded the Birth Control League, which became Planned Parenthood. And then, you know, Planned Parenthood tells so many different types of lies, like trying to pretend that my uncle, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who absolutely was pro-life, his wife was pro-abortion or pro-choice, but he was very pro-life. And they tried to say that Dr. King accepted a Planned Parenthood award. He actually didn't. He did not write the speech. He did not attend the ceremony. His wife went and read a speech someone else wrote. And so Planned Parenthood also very recently, and I believe you and your listeners probably know about Tanya Reeves, an African-American woman in Chicago, just a few days ago went in for a late-term abortion, and her womb was punctured. She was injured there in the process. Planned Parenthood in Chicago kept that lady there for 5 hours or more, and she was bleeding. And by the time they reluctantly got help and got her to a hospital, she died. And so they want us to believe that abortions are safe, that they're okay. And so here we are with a mandate now that is recommending that people of faith, people of conscience, give out insurance benefits that would give a woman free birth control. And the birth control is often linked to breast cancer, cervical cancer, strokes, and all of that kind of stuff. The shots, the pill, the surgical procedures, they're all very, very dangerous. And so here you have a mandate requiring the conscience clause, which we need to talk about, saying that doctors or nurses would have to provide these services, provide these chemical or harmful surgical procedures, or lose their job, whether they're faith, it's a violation of their religious freedom, but they still have to do it. Priests for Life is a Catholic. It's the largest Catholic pro-life organization in America, I believe. Now, I work for Priests for Life. I direct African-American outreach. I'm a non-denominational Word of Faith Christian, but Father Frank Pavone said early on, my uncle Martin Luther King Jr. said he had a dream that Protestants and Catholics and Gentiles and Jews would join together and sing Free at Last. And so here we are, Protestants and Catholics and Gentiles and Jews working together to protect the constitutional rights of Americans, and that HHS mandate is totally contrary to that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that your uncle was pro-life, because it has been stated over the years that he was pro-abortion, that he supported the choice. I'm glad that you're making the point to our listeners that Martin Luther King Jr. was absolutely pro-life, because the media has misconstrued that over the years.
It's a total lie. If you would think for a moment, President George Bush Sr. is pro-life. His wife supported the pro-choice, pro-abortion movement. Then President George W. Bush is pro-life. His wife, Laura Bush, never talked about her position publicly until he left, at the end of his 2 terms. She wrote a book and said she always supported pro-choice, but she decided not to discuss that until after her husband left office. So here you had Martin Luther King Jr. during his lifetime, the same thing. He was pro-life. He said the Negro cannot win if he's willing to sacrifice the futures of his children for immediate personal comfort and safety. Now, his wife went to the award ceremony and accepted that award in his name. And then there was a letter written thanking Dr. Sanger and all of that. But Dr. King's secretaries and the people around him drafted many of his acknowledgments, and he kind of just would have a stack of letters and he would sign off on them. I got married the year after he died, and I was a young lady who was involved in the civil rights movement and in some of the marches and demonstrations, and even went to jail. So I was around his home and in and out of his office, and I could assure you that he was so pro-life. He really was. My granddaddy, Dr. Martin Luther King Sr., my mother considered aborting me before abortion was legal. She was going to have a D&E, or a D&C, D&E. And she had gotten pregnant, and she wanted to go ahead and finish her college education. She was a freshman in college. And my granddaddy told her, he said, no. He said, that's a little girl. I have seen this baby in a dream 3 years ago. She is a little girl with bright skin and bright red hair, and she'll bring joy to many. And the funny thing about it, and so when people hear me say I have a dream, it's in my genes, they think I'm simply quoted by Uncle Martin, but I'm talking about my grandfather's dream that saved my life.
Wow. I'm glad you said that, because I can remember back when I was in high school hearing, well, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was for abortion. So, see, we've been misled on that. So we have to hear directly from a family member and I'm glad you're saying this tonight, because, see, so many lies have been said. And in this and when one lie is told about a man who so many people admire, that can lead people who admire him to make the wrong choice. So I'm glad that you're setting this straight right now. And this also, you know, is a war on women, because you think how many women children were aborted, and then when you talk about Tanya Reeves, that is a war on women, and yet we hear the women's movement, all they're doing is talking about contraception and saying that is the war on women, but no one in the media, no one in the women's movement wants to talk about women like Tanya Reeves. That is a war on women. That girl did not deserve what happened to her, and she was.
The real war on women, as you say, for instance, a woman cannot get pregnant if she's not ovulating. So if they would just do the little the little kits where a woman can test her ovulatory cycles and things like that, in the Catholic Church it's called natural family planning more so. Some other people have called it the rhythm method over the years. But a woman can't get pregnant if she's not ovulating.
That's right.
And so that's harmless. She doesn't have to take a shot, a pill, a surgical procedure, or anything. But they won't really promote that. They won't tell you, because they want all these different chemicals and all of that. So there's a war on women that by giving them free contraceptives that could link them to heart attacks and strokes and breast cancer and liver cancer and just all of these things. That's the war on women. But it's interesting that you should say that, because we're talking about life and contraception and abortion. But also, I was flipping the news channels last night, and I saw a report that said unemployment for women in 2009, when President Obama came into office, was 7%. Now it's up 8.1%. To me, that sounds like a war on women.
I agree.
Taking away jobs from women. That's another part of the war on women. So the White House is really waging a war on women and calling it all women's rights. It's just very bizarre to me.
It is bizarre, and when you see how Planned Parenthood was started, and the reason Margaret Sanger started, and she called it the Negro Project, and she said she wanted to get rid of the black race. When Barack and Michelle Obama came into office, the first thing I thought was that should have been the First Lady's platform, to stand up against Planned Parenthood and make this known to America, rather than supporting even partial birth abortion. And also, when you talk about contraception, in this mandate, are we also talking about the abortion pill?
The abortion pill, which honestly, they want to still call that contraception, but that actually is an abortion, because the woman takes that and actually aborts the baby after the baby is conceived. And they know that as well. So all of those are bundled up in that little package. And, you know, Planned Parenthood gets $1 million a day from the government taxes, okay? So what they say is, oh, we don't get that money for abortions. That money's for something else. Well, okay, you take a million of our tax dollars every day, and you do your other services so that the money that you raise can go directly to you aborting babies. So indirectly, we still are paying you to abort babies. You see, all of that is bundled up into that whole lie, and now this health care package. So I'm saying abortion is not health care. Contraceptives, drugs, and surgical procedures that can cause these illnesses, and it says so on the packages, are Yaz. They just pulled one off the shelf a few months ago called Yaz. It was out by Bayer Aspirin, and ironically, Bayer aspirin is advertised as one of the best aspirin products to reduce the threat of heart attacks. Now, Bayer makes Yaz, and Bayer makes the aspirin. So now, Yaz, and it was on there, it was on the packaging, can give you strokes or heart attacks. Don't take it if you're subject to this. Well, usually you don't know if you're subject to that until you get a heart attack or stroke.
You're
so
right.
They're going to give you the heart attack or stroke, and then they're going to turn around and give you the aspirin to make you better. You know, and the same thing happened with Common for the Cure and Planned Parenthood, because they donate money back and forth between the two agencies. And so Planned Parenthood gives you the artificial birth controls, the harmful chemicals and surgeries, and the abortion that can cause you to get breast cancer, because breast cancer is linked to abortion and the chemical contraceptions. And so they will give you all of that, then you get breast cancer, and you go to Komen to get treated, and then Komen donates money back to Planned Parenthood. You see, these things are vicious cycles that people are not educated about, and it's very tragic and unfortunate. So I thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share this conversation with you and your listening audience.
Absolutely, and the other thing is I would think, and I've gotten into arguments with women who said they were going to put their 11, 12-year-old daughter on birth control, and I said, you know, I can't, you know, if that were my daughter, I said, she's still growing. You're putting hormones into her body, and you're going to, you know, have you even thought about the effects of what you're putting into her body? And of course, the mother says, well, I don't want her to get pregnant.
Yeah, but so, ma'am, would you rather her get a stroke or a heart attack?
Right.
You know, and I've asked people that and said it, and then they would get defensive and upset with me. But, you know, you just have to tell the truth.
You do, absolutely. I'm so glad you're here telling us this, because so many people are not aware of this mandate. They just keep hearing health insurance, and not everybody is really educating themselves on what they may be forced to pay for. And when you read the story of Tanya Reeves, she is not the only one, and because, I mean, we hear Barack Obama and the other people in the women's movement saying that Roe v. Wade saved women from botched abortions. Well, apparently it did not.
No, it did
because
not.
Look what happened.
You know, Tanya is not the exception to the rule. Planned Parenthood is lying about that. I had a woman that came to me just a few days ago. She's a nurse. And she says in the 1980s, she was a student at Spelman College. She had an abortion, and she experienced so much pain and suffering for the longest and ended up with very bad fibroid tumors. And what was revealed to me, sometimes I get things just from experience and knowing, and then sometimes in prayer. And then there's a Dr. Philip Ney, who's passed away now, a renowned psychiatrist, and he said that there were various connections to fibromyalgia and other conditions related to the hormonal manipulations and also the abortions and et cetera. So, for instance, the baby is being aborted. And you know the procedure. I don't want to upset anybody, but as the baby is dismembered, and I really hate to say that, but little parts of the baby, the stem cells are escaping. The stem cells go and try to find somewhere to attach or reattach or find somewhere to hide in the mother's body. And so later, if those turn into fibroid tumors or stuff, because sometimes they say that they have removed fibroid tumors that had little teeth. And you can, if you don't believe me, audience, you can Google this and find out. But if any of those stem cells slip past the placenta in the process, then these things are there. And the fibromyalgia, the stem cells are trying to find refuge and sanctuary. And they say if the baby's leg or arm was removed, then the little leg tissue tries to go higher than mama's hip tissue. You see what I'm saying? It sounds like science fiction, but I have read these studies from medical doctors. I'm not just making this up.
No, I know you're not making this up because there are medical documents proving this, but again, you know, the media never wants to discuss it, and the feminist movement that is for abortion they have such a hold on the media in convincing women that abortion makes you free. But how can abortion make you free when you took away the freedom of an unborn child?
It does not. And the most liberty, I'm 61 years old now, and I'm a mother and a grandmother. But as I think back on it, the most liberating thing a woman can do is to know when she ovulates and with power decide, I'm not going to have sex when I'm not ovulating. If she's married, then, and I've heard Catholics explain it this way more so than anybody else, and they'll say, you know, romance and affection and intimacy are not confined and limited to the sex act. If you can't find other ways to express loving intimacy, then, you know, you need to get some imagination. And that's the way the married couples, and when they talk, they'll laugh, you know, and they'll smile. And so they put their sexuality in the hands of the Lord.
Yeah.
And then they just, with, you know, responsibility and discipline is almost the same way when we go out to exercise, because we know when we do that our bodies are going to be healthier. Or when we pay attention to what we eat. Well, we can do the same thing with sexuality. We're not beasts, after all. We are human beings. So ladies, we can take charge of our sexuality if we just want to do that.
Well, when we decide to take charge of our sexuality, there are many consequences to pay, and even beyond getting pregnant.
But I'm saying taking charge as in I'm not going to be promiscuous. I'm not going to put poison drugs in my system. I will be responsible with my sexuality. I will be married, and I'll have sex with my husband, and we'll talk together about planning a family. And I know that if I don't have sex when I'm ovulating, I'm not going to get pregnant. That's what I mean about taking charge and just being responsible.
And you're right about that, because that's being responsible to yourself, and it's also being responsible to the child that you would conceive, and let that child live, let that child have a life.
Right. Once the child is conceived, yes, let the baby live. Let the baby live. Yes.
How many of those unborn children, I always ask, had the cure for cancer, had the cure for AIDS, and we did not allow that. And you know, how many presidents? Was there another Dr. Martin Luther King? We just, you know, we have to think about that. And if you, whether or not you are pro-life, or if you're out there and you're listening and you support abortion, if you think you have the right to live, well, what makes you think that the unborn child does not have the right to live?
Yeah.
We all do. God created us all. He gave us all life, but did not give us the right to take that life.
And we have to remember that, and, you know, just begin to, and again to the listeners, if one person listening, if one of you changes your mind, you may have been pro-choice and now you've heard something that makes you want to think about that again, it starts with one. And then another one and another one. And so that's how that process begins. So, and it's never too late. Many years ago, I was pro-choice because I was uninformed. But when truth came, then I did not only the spiritual thing, but I did the logical thing. I realized that the people in the womb also are people, and they have civil rights, you see?
Right.
And so we have to really start looking at that. Yeah.
You're absolutely
right. I'm not going to be able to stay on with you much longer. Did you have a couple of other
That's
questions?
all right. And I thank you so much for coming on. And I want everybody to know you can to go to priestforlife.org, and you can click on to Dr. Alveda King's blog. And this website, if you have had an abortion or if you're considering an abortion, please go to this website because this is a website of people who love you. They will not point a finger at you, condemn you in any way. They are there to love you and help you through whatever you're going through. Dr. King is a civil rights activist, and she is there to help you. And as you heard her tonight, she loves the human being, and Priests for Life is an organization that is standing up for women and standing up for all children born and unborn and those who have lost their lives. Thank you, Dr. King, for visiting us and educating us on certain things we didn't know, especially about your uncle. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you.
Good night.
Good night, Dr. King. Thank you. All right, everybody. That was a great interview. And, again, Dr. King's website is priestsforlife.org, and Dr. Alveda King has her own blog. When you click on Priests for Life, you go over to the left-hand corner, and you'll see Alveda King's blog. You can click that on. And she writes daily, and she writes a lot of, everything that's going on that she finds about abortion, things that you have been told does not happen, such as the botched abortion of Tanya Reeves, which just happened this summer, and that young girl was left to bleed for 5 hours and bleed to death because Planned Parenthood did not want any scandal. They did not want it to be known. But Dr. King is telling Tanya's story. She has that up on her blog on Priests for Life, as well as explaining what the Obamacare HHS mandate really is. When this goes through, and if Obama is reelected, all of us are not going to have a choice in health insurance. You will not have a choice to say, well, I want to buy this health insurance or that health insurance, or I don't want to, I'll pay cash. No, Obama is saying you have to buy Obamacare, and in that is the abortion mandate, which means you have to pay for other people's abortions, whether you agree with it or not. And it's something to think about, whether you are anti-abortion or whether you're pro-abortion. Think about the constitutional rights of the American people. Think about the religious rights of everyone. You should not force anyone to buy into something they don't want to buy into. And then at the same time, ask yourself, if you have a right to live, what gives you the right to abort an unborn child? If you say you don't want that child, can't you put that child up for adoption to a loving family? There's so much to think about. And again, Priests for Life is really a great organization. They want to help women. They want to counsel women who have had abortions and are struggling through this. As I pointed out, when you go onto this website, you'll see they do not condemn anyone. They don't point fingers at anyone. If you've had an abortion, if you're pregnant, you're thinking about an abortion, or you're pregnant and you don't know what to do, they're there for you. So, this is a great organization that, like Dr. King said, it's the largest Catholic organization against abortion in the United States. And we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back to talk more about what's going on in the news. Hey, did you all hear that Mitt Romney hates women and he wants women to die of cancer? He wants all women who have cancer to die. Now, this is according to an ad by Barack Obama, and and Team Obama, I'm not sure if Team Obama put the ad out. I know that apparently CNN refuses to play the ad, and some are calling for Obama to condemn the ad. He has not yet. But in the ad, there is a former worker from one of the companies that Bain Capital had gone in and built back up, and Romney left Bain in 1999. Now, this guy in the ad who is doing the ad for this pro-Obama ad, he's saying that Romney killed his wife, that she died of cancer, and it's all Mitt Romney's fault. They did not have insurance. Well, come to find out, not only did the guy have insurance, his wife died in 2006. Mitt Romney left Bain Capital in 1999. Bain had already left that company the guy was working at, and the wife had insurance. And now this guy in the ad is making it sound like that his wife was left to die. Well, she went to doctors, and doctors discovered the cancer. The woman had insurance. The husband had insurance. Now, also, what I recently heard was that when Bain left, this guy was offered a package deal that he could transfer his job and be paid well, and he said no. He did not want to. He told Romney no, and he told Bain Capital no. And he's making it sound like he was left high and dry, and at that time his wife was dying of cancer, when in fact it was almost 10 years later, 2006. This is a vile ad. I mean, I would say that if Mitt Romney were doing this to Barack Obama, I would call it a vile ad. This is going beyond just basic mudslinging. This is actually accusing someone of being the fault of cancer. And now you have all these left-wing women. You have some women in Hollywood doing Obama ads, and they're saying, well, if Mitt Romney wins, there's going to be a war on women because Mitt Romney hates women, and we know it for a fact because he's against Planned Parenthood, and he let a woman die of cancer. Really? Ann Romney had cancer, and she suffered through this, and she beat it. Now, if Mitt Romney hates women, why didn't he just let his wife die? Why didn't he say, I'm not taking you to, doctor, you're staying home? He could have just locked her in a room and said, I hate women, and I'm going to let my wife die of cancer because I think women should die of cancer. He could have, come on, this is insane. Barack Obama, I know you would not even do this to your wife, or would you, you are allowing an ad that is saying that
Lisa, it's been proven that ad is so misleading. Number one, the guy got another job. Number two, the wife got insurance. And number three, she didn't die until like 5 years after Romney had left Bain or something.
2006. Now we're talking, we're going almost 10 years.
Right.
And he's also making it sound like they couldn't afford to go to a hospital. Well, in order to find out that you have cancer, you have to go to a doctor. So this woman had to have some kind of test and procedure to discover this cancer. And we all had, like you said, we found out this woman had insurance, but this guy was also offered a transfer by Romney and Bain, and he turned it down in 1999. Plus, like you said, he got another job. So this ad is so vile. if Mitt Romney did this to Barack Obama, I would be standing up for Barack Obama and saying this is vile. Now we're taking a whole new level of mudslinging. We've gone beyond mudslinging to all-out manure slinging. This is absolutely disgusting.
Did you hear though that I'm sure everyone knows the controversy though surrounding the Romney spokesperson, the woman in the green sweater that came on and blew it. Ann Coulter is calling for her to be fired. I don't know what happened with her. Did you hear that about this woman, Lisa, that came on as the spokesperson and totally botched the answer regarding this ad? Did you hear about that?
Now, is this the actress that's in an ad for Barack Obama?
No. This is a Romney campaign staffer. Person. She came on to rebut the commercial, the story about the cancer. She came on to defend Romney because she's a Romney staffer, right?
Right.
She botched it, Lisa. She botched it.
You're right. You're right, because I read Ann Coulter's column today, and she was talking about several people, and she got it right, which she always does. She's, and yes, Mitt Romney should get rid of this woman because sometimes, and I don't know, so listeners out there, don't take my word for it, but this does happen once in a while. You will get people infiltrating campaigns purposely to take down that particular candidate. And it's so hard to say, because how could you botch an answer? How could you botch this? And this woman should be fired. I agree with Ann Coulter.
Yeah. Did you hear what her response was? She said, well, now, if he had Romney care, it would have been okay. I mean, I just wanted to throw something at her at the I'm like, what are you going there? Why are you bringing up Romney care? It was just
because Romney care only deals with the state of Massachusetts. It has nothing to do with the rest of the country. And by the way, the people of Massachusetts, they voted for it. Okay?
Right. But why would she bring it up? Why would she bring it up when, you know what? I mean, if
that's what I'm questioning, because,
it's kind of weird.
It's weird, and I don't, like I said, don't take what I'm saying and run with it, anybody, because, I could be wrong. I'm just wondering why this woman would say that, because I've worked on major campaigns, and when you work on a campaign, first of all, you have to know the candidate. You get to know what the candidate believes, what the candidate thinks, and if you have to speak for that candidate, you say what that candidate thinks and believes, but you also speak in a way that is not stupid. Hello, you
have to be savvy enough to know that Romney care is not something we're bringing up. It's not something we're going to bring up in the campaign. It's not.
It has nothing to do with the rest of the country. It only deals with Massachusetts. And when you work on a campaign, if you have to speak to the public in any way, and they ask you where your candidate stands, because you are going to work for that candidate because you say to yourself, I like what this candidate stands for, and you're going to sit down with the whole team, and you're going to question that candidate, first of all, because then if you find there's things you don't like, you're going to say, I respectfully withdraw from, the team. I'm just questioning why this woman would say that, because sometimes people infiltrate campaigns. And if any of you have worked on campaigns, you know this. And that's why a lot of times you'll see people are let go, because sometimes the opposition puts somebody in, or sometimes the opposition doesn't put anybody in, but somebody that can't stand the candidate and would like to bring the candidate down will join that team to do that. Now, I don't know what's going on in this woman's head, but that was one of the dumbest things
she could have been nervous.
Ever heard.
I mean, you know what? She could have been nervous. She's really young. She just bungled it, you know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying she's tried. She didn't do it on purpose. I mean, I don't believe she's a plant in the
long. It's so hard to say what's in her head. But and that's another thing, Mitt Romney. Please do not have young people as your spokespeople.
Exactly, Lisa.
You know, I know that campaigns always get college interns and kids that are in political science colleges. They will intern for the candidate they want to vote for, but they are too young to speak to the press. They are also too young to speak publicly at a rally. Mitt Romney, you need people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, people who have been voting for years, people who pay taxes, people who work, people. You cannot have young people speaking for you because this young girl does not know what she is talking about. And to say if we had Romney care, we cannot have Romney care. Massachusetts is not the country, it's one state, okay?
Right, and beyond that, it's not a popular topic for the
No, it's not a popular topic. Do not bring it up. First of all, Romney has said that he is going to do everything to repeal Obamacare. So do not bring up Romney care because what you're doing now is the evangelicals and Catholics out there heard that. And they're thinking, oh, my gosh, she just said Romney care. Is he going to not push to repeal Obamacare?
Right.
So, you know, if you're old enough to understand, now Rebecca and I have heard Mitt Romney say plenty of times, he said it in the debates, that the first thing he wants to do is repeal Obamacare. He had the wrong person as a spokesperson. He needs to fire this person, and he really needs pit bulls like Newt Gingrich on his team.
Exactly.
You know, he really does. And I would also, Mitt Romney, you know, I'm going to tweet you the show. You know, I tweet you, I tweet Barack Obama, I tweet all the leaders out there. I think we should all tweet our leaders everywhere, and not just the leaders in your own state. Tweet Ted Cruz. You want him to win. Tweet different people out in California that are on the right, that are conservative. You know, there are different people all over, conservatives from California to New York they are trying hard. They want to win. Go onto their Twitter accounts, their Facebook accounts, and talk to them, and even tell them what you want them to do in the Senate and the Congress. But Mitt Romney, you also need a pit bull as a vice president. You're a nice guy. You were, you know, and I think it has a lot to do with his upbringing. He was raised in a good household, very functional. And we want that. We want that in a president. But he's not.
Lisa,
yes,
Lisa, in the chat room, they said Ted Nugent for vice president.
Yes.
Hey,
you know what?
Yeah.
I would love to see Ted Nugent as a vice president. You know.
Too.
You know who I would like to see in charge of the FBI? Dwayne Dog Chapman. Okay. I guarantee you that we would never have a Fast and Furious scandal with Dwayne Dog Chapman, because Dwayne Dog Chapman would, in fact, if Dwayne Dog Chapman was in the administration at all, Eric Holder would be in prison. Because, in fact, Eric Holder would be in prison because he would say, somebody please put me in prison before the dog gets near me, you know. But Romney needs a pit bull VP. He needs somebody standing by him with who has an aggressiveness that is constitutional republic.
And he needs exactly. You know, Michelle Malkin was on Sean Hannity last night, and she sent a message just like you are to the Romney campaign, and she said, "Look, I'm just going to lay it out on the line here. Mitt Romney, campaign Romney, brain trust Romney. Listen to me. You people, number one, need to get a little bit more passionate, okay? And number two, please pick somebody that is over the line passionate that we can relate to." A social conservative, you know, somebody that Tea Party kind of person. Lisa, do you have who's on your short list? Chris
Christie is on my short list. You know, and you know, over the past couple of years of talking about it, I've even had my readers get annoyed with me as they as readers of Ann Coulter got annoyed with her. But, you know, maybe it's because we're East Coast girls right outside of New York and New Jersey, and in Connecticut we're a lot more uptight than New York and New Jersey, so we tend to look at New York and New Jersey and say, we need you. And boy, you know what, Mitt Romney, if you put Chris Christie on your team, you know, you need somebody tough like that. I would love that, or Ryan, you know, Ryan. Because, you know, Ryan he's tough. Now, I know you're not, Chris Christie has already said no, although I think he would have been a great presidential choice because he would wipe the floor with Obama, and he would use Joe Biden's hair plugs to do it. So forget it. I'm thinking Paul Ryan, since Chris Christie has already said no, but I would love Chris Christie because Chris Christie would scare Obama and Biden right out of Washington, D.C. They would say, you know what, give it to Mitt. Just, we're going, bye. You know, give them the Jersey treatment. But I'm also thinking Ryan and... You know,
Michelle Malkin said Bobby Jindal, and
Bobby Jindal is another. I was going to say Bobby Jindal also. Yeah. Look how tough Bobby... You know, if not for Bobby Jindal, I don't know what would have happened to Louisiana. Because, first of all, that guy begged Barack Obama right as soon as the oil spill happened, as soon as that well was gushing, Bobby Jindal came right out on the news and he begged the president to stop the spill, and he told the president exactly what he could do by vacuuming the oil off. There's a certain way to do it. Bobby Jindal is from Louisiana, okay? This guy is a Cajun. He lives down there. He knows the Gulf Coast. They have oil rigs all over the Gulf Coast. So when you live down there, when you're born and raised there, you understand what happens with an oil spill on the Gulf Coast. Bobby Jindal knows it well. He understands it better than any of us who don't live right there where there are oil rigs drilling for oil. Bobby Jindal told the president, this is what you need to do. You can stop it now. This is what you need to do. You can get the oil up now. Barack Obama ignored him. And in my opinion, I believe he ignored him so that it would become such a disaster that Obama could say, see how evil oil is, see how evil companies like BP are and all these other companies. So, yeah, Bobby Jindal held that state together and he held that coast together because he kept coming out on television, speaking out, and he kept letting the American people know that Barack Obama was turning his back on the Gulf Coast. He was ignoring that spill. Of course, when Barack Obama finally went to look at the spill, he walked down the beach in dress slacks and Italian leather shoes. Now, who walks on the beach like that, and especially on a beach covered with an oil spill? A guy who has absolutely no clue about anything except his Marxist mentored lifestyle. This is a guy who I just saw a clip today when he was saying the First Lady needs to be paid. And now I know for a fact, you all know the First Lady gets paid. Every First Lady gets paid. But he was making it sound like she doesn't get paid enough. She needs to get paid. I don't know, people. She lives a pretty lavish lifestyle. Another reason why we need to get her out. So we need some mouthy guys with Mitt Romney, like Bobby Jindal. He's got a big mouth. Paul Ryan, big mouth. Chris Christie's got a big mouth, but I don't think he's going to say yes. I think he wants to stay in New Jersey because the fact is New Jersey really does need him. But Jindal, Ryan, they're also looking at Rubio. I'm still annoyed at Rubio for throwing Michelle Bachmann under the bus, and I would like him to apologize to her. I'm also thinking Michelle Bachmann, but she's not on the list. She's not on the list, which is a shame because she is tough. She is one tough lady, and I was also thinking today, Rebecca, it's a shame Hillary Clinton is not conservative. Could you imagine if this is one of the? She really is a brilliant woman. If you put that brains and that know-how into conservatism, could you imagine what a president that would make?
Yeah, it's too bad. What a waste. What a waste.
Yeah, what a waste. Yeah, what a waste. Yeah, but Mitt Romney, please. As we're closing, I would ask all of you listeners, start tweeting Mitt Romney. It's his name, @Mitt Romney. And I tweet him every day. Mitt Romney, please listen to the Tea Party. Please sit down with the Tea Party. He has got to. But it's up to us. We can't just say, oh, I wish he would do this, I wish he would do that. We have to talk to him. And we have to talk to our leaders. Talk to Paul Ryan. Talk to Bobby Jindal. Talk to Ted Cruz, who is running. Talk to people who are running out in California. Talk to conservatives out in California. Talk to the leaders all over. There are people running and there are people in office who are conservative, like Michelle Bachmann. Then, of course, who, by the way, I think should take John Boehner's place. I think that man has to go. He is a wimp. He does not belong as Speaker of the House. He's easily stepped on by Nancy Pelosi. But as we close, really, everybody start talking to Mitt Romney. He is the candidate. And I know there are some people who are saying, well, I'm not going to vote for Mitt Romney because it's not the candidate I wanted. How do you know he will not do a great job? I remember people saying to me in 1980, don't vote for Ronald Reagan. He's an actor. He'll do a terrible job. Well, they were wrong. So talk to Mitt Romney. Tweet him. Get on Facebook. If you have to 10 times a day on Twitter and Facebook, everybody do this. We all have to take part. We have to voice our opinions to Mitt Romney and the other leaders, and to Alan West, to Michelle Bachmann, newer leaders in Senate and Congress. Give them your support. Let them know you're on their side, and tell them to keep fighting. And let's all of us stand together and change America back to America. And we've got to do this together. All it takes is our voices and our vote. We can do this. Barack Obama said, yes, we can. Well, we who love our constitutional republic, we will take this country back. We will. So God bless everybody. We'll see you Saturday. Tune in, stay tuned for the rest of the evening. There are more shows to listen to, and all through the week, check out this network and all the great shows. And let's change America back to America together. Good night, everybody. God bless.
Blog Talk Radio, where millions of hosts and listeners gather.